You found Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
And I'm Heather Branch here with Mike, talking about ways you can be preparing now for your financial future and how Mike and his team are here to help you along in that process. LifePlanWealth.com is where you can go to begin your conversation with Mike and his team about your financial and retirement savings plan. We've also got links posted in the show notes, so you can just click on those links, or again, the website, LifePlanWealth.com. All right, so I wanted to talk to you about, it's definitely a sensitive conversation, a sensitive subject matter, but we're not afraid to go there on this podcast because, when it comes to the work you do, yes, technically, bottom line, it's financial planning, right? It's figuring out people's money, but especially thinking about retirement years, it's so much more. It's life planning. LifePlanWealth.com is the website. It's not lost
all
on
in the
me.
name
Yeah. It's life planning and figuring out your family and your future and your legacy and all the other things that are involved. So with that said, wanted to ask you about caring for special needs children, because I feel like for our parents' generation, I grew up, one of my closest lifelong friends has severe autism. And I've also had friends and family members that have had Downs babies. And I feel like a generation ago, people that had these severe disabilities, they didn't live as long. They would usually pass on, sadly, earlier in life in their 30s and 40s. And now we're in this, just because of all of we know so many things about health and avoiding sugar and all that. People with special needs are living much longer. And so this whole idea about how these parents are going to care for their kids after they're gone, that's one element of it, but just the financial struggle that it is to live this kind of life, Mike. It's estimated that 1 in 5 American households are caring for a special needs child. Living with their parents after they become adults has posed a whole new set of financial issues for their parents, for the entire family. Cindy Haddad is the author of the Special Needs Planning Guide, and she was talking to Morningstar.com and said this.
We need to talk about the reality that someday parents may physically not be able to care for their child in the way that they've been accustomed to. And the worst thing that could happen is the parent dies or the parent becomes disabled and needs to go to an assisted living or nursing home. And then who else is there to pick up the pieces for both? So it just makes it even more complex. If there are other brothers and sisters, you're leaving a double burden to them to figure out how to care for mom and dad, how to care for their sibling, and also how to live their own life.
It's very stressful conversation, I know, for a lot of families, Mike, but you've actually had experience helping families plan in this space. So how do we go about doing that, particularly thinking about getting older and trying to plan for what needs to happen in the way of getting care for all parties involved?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's not an answer or a destination. A situation with special needs is a journey that evolves and changes over time.
Okay.
I think back to, and I've shared this story before, but with our son Caleb, when he was in the womb, they told us that he had cysts on his brain that were highly linked to Down syndrome and a couple other issues. And he had feet issues, and they said he wouldn't walk for several years, and eventually he'd learn how to walk. And we went through that, and that was the first ultrasound. The second ultrasound said he has 3 cysts on his brain and not just 1. And so when you hear these things, the model of what your life looks like could change quite a bit.
Yep.
You can go into, do we need a special vehicle? If our child can't walk, do we need to change the way our house do we need to move somewhere with no stairs?
Right.
What does things look like? We need a first floor bedroom. What if all the kids' bedrooms are upstairs and you have someone who can't walk? Like, how do you deal with those things? And so there's a lot of things there. And then there's also the mental element too of if you have Down syndrome, if you have autism. And I think part of what you mentioned is the development over the past 30 years to understand and identify and separate the term special needs into so many different compartments. I mean, for a long time, when I was a kid, autism wasn't, I don't even think it was a word.
No, that's the thing is that my friend I think he's a year or 2 younger than me. And my godmother had to go to like 3 or 4 different states to find a doctor that would diagnose. And the conversation was literally, well, we believe your son has this very rare disease called autism. And if you think about how prevalent autism is now in just one generation's time, how much has changed. But yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the more you segment it, the more you can research it, fund it, and help it.
Right.
But if you just call it all mentally challenged or mentally disabled or special needs, whatever the term was, as it evolved over time, you can't really study a broad spectrum well.
Right.
You can study something specifically well.
Right.
So now all the tools and resources, not that it makes it easier for a family that deals with autism and one of the children, but the resources are so much greater. You're not on an island anymore. Now you have resource support groups, tools. And I literally just watched a video the other day, and we always joke about how, my wife's called me the Tin Man forever because of a lack of emotion. Well, apparently there's one thing that still gets me. There's a video of a young autistic boy.
Yeah.
He's probably 5 years old, 4 years old.
Yeah.
And every morning his mom wakes up and tells him, "Good morning, buddy. Good morning." And he never says a word back. And she just keeps saying it to him. And then it's a video from like their home camera, like a whatever, in home camera. And she says, "Good morning, buddy." He says, "Good morning, Mom," the first time. And then he just gets up and runs away. Like he said it every morning their whole life. And she sits there and she just bawls
Loses
and
her
loses
mind.
it. And she's just so happy. So then, of course, she keeps saying it back to him, and he won't say it again, right? It's I'm like, hey, in his defense, my kids would do that,
Right.
you know? I'd be like, "Oh, you want me to say it for you? I'm not saying it now."
That's it.
But it was such a magical moment, you know? And so those struggles are real, and that's one end of the journey. And it's very specific. And then you look at the other end of the journey, where I do have some clients where they have several sons, and one of them does have special needs to the point where he needs to be in a facility because he is too big for them to care for physically at home. You know, I mean, they're in their 70s, he's in his 40s, and so he's in a facility. And so to protect several things, because when you qualify for something like that, you qualify for financial help with the cost of your care.
Got it.
But if you get access to too much money, then they will disqualify you from getting state funding to help cover your care. We pay a lot of taxes. And so the taxes are designed, in theory, to help those who need help. Right? Like all these social programs are supposed to help those who need help.
Right.
So when someone really needs help, I want to make sure that they get the help that they are entitled to.
Yeah.
And for them, by having a special needs trust and by having some very specific legal things put in place, we made sure that there's no way he could ever get access to too much money. Now, granted, while he's living, he can earn very little because of his disability.
Right.
He struggles with a lot of things. But if they were to pass, you know, all of a sudden he would get access to some of his inheritance, and it would cause a problem in terms of that. So there are things you can do to protect your family, protect your assets, and to keep your family being loved and cared for.
Yeah.
But it takes legal planning. It takes financial planning, and it doesn't take just a quick Google search.
Right.
Because people come in all the time, "Hey, I hear this. Can I do this?" And I say, "Actually, no, it doesn't apply here in Michigan," or "You don't qualify because of these 17 reasons that they didn't tell you on the TikTok video you watched." You know, whatever. But it's like, that's the case. So we just need to have these conversations. But it's like so many things. You don't know the things you don't know. And so when people come in, they say, "Well, I don't know. There's no way we can protect our money. There's no way we can care for this. No way." There are ways most of the time. We just have to have the conversations and sit down and cover them because it is complicated and it's evolving. The laws change just like a lot of things.
Got it.
Medicare, Medicaid, they all change constantly. So if we can stay on top of that, we can help build out a plan. And again, as we sat there hearing reports from the doctors in an ultrasound room, you go through and you say, "What don't I know about it?" There's so many things you just don't know.
Right.
And then as over the years, the more and more I've dealt with this, and it seems like we deal a lot with this. We deal a lot with widows. We deal a lot with survivorship, unique situations. Yeah. And I joke, I say, I feel like there's some type of a calling we have towards this, where we are called to care for the widows and orphans and those who need help.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I feel like we get all those cases. And so, we're very grateful to be able to help people. We have wonderful attorneys we partner with here in mid-Michigan that help us take care of people. But it's different. You know, there's the time when we pick stocks and there's time to pick funds, but there's also a much more important time for a lot of people, and that's to protect everything you've saved and earned for all these years. And the conversation starts with asking some very simple and sometimes difficult to answer questions. What happens if? Who should care if? On these things where we don't like to think about those situations, but if we don't answer them, someone will answer them for us. And so that's the key.
Right.
Answer them for your own family.
Right.
Don't let the government answer them for you.
Right.
And so it always starts with the conversation. I encourage people, if you have things you need to talk about with special needs, with caring for loved ones, or if you're in this situation, you say, I think I'm set up, but I'm not sure. I tell people, go to lifeplanwealth.com. Lifeplanwealth.com. We have a button on there. It says, start your retirement roadmap today. That retirement roadmap includes having these conversations. Someone who helps you understand, because once you understand, you can make good decisions, informed decisions. But until you understand it, it's hard to know where to turn or what to do. So it starts with the education, and from there you can know what to do. So we offer that Start Your Retirement Roadmap Today button on our website, and we'll just have coffee and talk it over.
And I think that that's the biggest thing for somebody who is so worried about their kids. If they have a child or a grandchild that needs to have some extra care in some way, shape, or form in life, knowing that that will happen in a way that they want it to happen, knowing that you have options, knowing you do have the ability to take some control of that. That is, again, what Mike and his entire team are here to help you figure out, and within your overall plan, setting these things in place, these action items, these steps you can take. So again, the website, lifeplanwealth.com. We also have links posted in the show notes. You can click there, or it's lifeplanwealth.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit lifeplanwealth.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.